In this training video, we will learn how to import CAD drawings to use as a overlay for tracing purposes. This will help us to draw walls a bit faster than manually drawing walls. If you have access to CAD drawings, like a DWG, DXF, or DWF, you can import those into Vertex and use them as a reference drawing. You can also use a native VXP Vertex 2D drawing as well. Please note, if you're using the steel version of Vertex BD, all steps will be similar to the Word version. Before we begin importing the reference drawing, let's confirm that our 3D levels and our floor depths are at the right height. Let's go over to the project document browser, expand the settings, expand the location and height, and select 3D levels. In the 3D levels window, let's select the first floor level just so we can indicate where it is in the cross-section view. There it is with the green dot. So it's our first level. The basement wall heights, let's confirm that they're 8 foot 6 inches for the walls. If your wall height is different, double click and change the value. And for the first floor walls, let's set that to 9 foot 1 1/8. And for the second floor level walls, let's set that to 8 foot 1 1/8. Now these should be set up correctly as we set these up in the prior video, but if not, just go ahead and set those up. We'll proceed. Select OK. Let's also make sure that we are on the first level wall layout model pair. Come up to the upper left corner of the window and select Open Drawing Model Pair. Under Drawing Model Pairs, let's select the first level wall layout model pair. Next, let's insert a reference drawing. You can import a DWG, DXF, or DWF CAD drawing without having to convert it over to a Vertex drawing. However, using a Vertex drawing tends to be easier to work with, especially when moving or editing the reference drawing. Let's go over the steps for converting a DWG file to a Vertex VXP drawing file. The first step is to select our CAD file. Let's go to File. We're going to open a file. We're going to hit the back button, go back into our shared pics. Each installation of Vertex BD has a tutorial CAD file in the pics folder. So we're going to search for the DWG file. So we'll go down to Files of Type, change that drop down to a DWG, and you should see two drawings. Let's select the Tutorial 1-Layout DWG. Select and open. Next, you will see a Drawing Conversion Setup dialog appear. If you need to change how layers and fonts and lines are converted, you can set up a set of rules. And we'll come back to this a little later. For now, we're just going to leave it at default. Hit OK. Now you see that we have a window with the CAD file. Now you can zoom in, select lines. It's a working CAD drawing. Now to convert this DWG file to a Vertex VXP file, it's very simple. Go back to the File menu, select Save As, over to the Save As, go to the Projects, Shared Projects. Next, select the folder with your training project name. Mine is Training 1. You should see a REF reference folder. We will save the converted CAD file to the reference drawing. It's a convenient place where to store reference drawings. If you do not have an REF folder, you can go up to the top of the window and create a new folder. I'm going to select REF. And I want to change this from a DWG to a VXP format. So down at the Files of Type drop-down menu, I'm going to select 2D Drawings VXP format. That's the Vertex 2D drawing format. then select Save. And now we can close out this window. We haven't made any changes to this drawing, so we'll just select No. And that's all you need to do to convert a file. Now to import that reference drawing, we'll go over to the Modeling tab, over to the Drafting section, and Reference Drawings. Select Reference Drawing or Model. Next, in the Reference Drawing dialog, under File, if you previously used some reference drawings, you will see them listed in this dropdown. In this case, we don't have any, so we need to browse for the reference drawing that we just created. So we'll select the Browse button to the right, and it should open up Open Dialog in the last saved reference folder. If not, you'll need to go in and search for it, but in this case, we should be in the appropriate folder. Select Tutorial 1 Layout. Should be set to file of type VXP. If you're not finding the VXP, make sure that you have that set up to VXP. If you need to look for a different format, a DWG, DWF, or a DXF, make sure that you set up the correct format when you're searching for your reference drawing. Select Open. Next, you have a description of reference drawing field. You can type in a description if you choose to. It's optional. Now, under reference drawing, you have several checkboxes and a couple more selections. Select location. If that's checked, you will have the option to select where the reference drawing is placed. If it is unchecked, then the origin point of the reference drawing will be inserted in the crosshairs or origin mark in Vertex. Use reference color. It will assign a bluish gray color to the lines. If it's unchecked, it will use the colors that were set in the original CAD drawing. Layer of reference drawing. This is the layer that it will insert the reference drawing on. If you leave it at default layers, it will use the layers that are in the CAD drawing when it was created. Or you can select the drop down and insert it in one of the Vertex standard layers. We'll just leave it at default layers. If you select freeze reference drawing, it will not allow you to make any changes to the drawing. It will just import it and it will lock it. We'll leave that unchecked. Visible layers. This will allow you to select the visibility of layers. You can have all layers visible, or you can go through and select the layers that you want visible by checking that box and then selecting the layers. Over in the layers window, then you can turn on or off the visibility. We'll hit cancel. And then you have discard images. Checking the box will remove any raster images such as logos that are embedded in the CAD file. I know in this case we don't have any, so we'll just leave it unchecked. Select OK to insert the reference drawing. Now you'll see that the reference drawing is attached to the cursor. The insert point of the reference drawing is located at the lower left corner of the reference drawing, which is the point linked to the mouse cursor. Let's go ahead and just drop it anywhere. Just left click to insert it. Now we've inserted our reference drawing. And we can use this to snap to the intersections and draw our walls much quicker than if we were to have to put in our distances and measurements. Now, when inserting a reference drawing, you also have tools available that will allow you to edit the reference drawing. Let's go ahead and insert this same reference drawing. So we'll go back up to reference drawings, select reference drawing or model. The file name will display the previous CAD file that we inserted. Let's just go ahead and hit OK. We'll leave the rest of the settings the same. Now we have the exact same CAD reference drawing. While you're inserting the drawing and the reference drawing is part of the cursor, you can right click and access some editing features. Let's go over these. We have set slant angle, Now you can set an angle. For instance, let's say this reference drawing was slightly skewed when you inserted it and you need to modify or fix the skew. We can add let's just say 5 degrees. And now you see that it has been skewed tremendously. So let's go back. We'll come back, skew, set that to 0. Let's go ahead and right click again. You have the set scaling factor, so you can set the scale when you're inserting the drawing. Typically, you want to have it set to full scale, assuming that your drawing was drawn at full scale when you're importing it. If it is set to, let's say you drew at a 1/4 of an inch scale and you need to bring it up to full scale, then you would go to 1/4 inch to full scale. Or if you need to scale it down from full scale to another scale, let's say full scale to 1/2 inch. And if you don't have a scale or it's an odd scale and you need to determine the scale factor, then you would use the bottom 1 to question mark and put in the scale factor. In this case, we're going to leave it at full scale. Right click again. You can mirror the top down. So if we select that, you'll see that it's been mirrored from the top down. Go back, reset it. You can right click and mirror from left to right. You can see how that's been mirrored. Go back, reset that. You can also set scale with measure. Say we know that this distance is 5.5. And if it's not 5.5, then you can type in the correct distance that it should be, and it'll scale down or scale up the reference drawing to make sure that that length matches this distance. What, cancel? We have next reference point. It'll select the next reference point, but if there isn't one, it doesn't do anything. You can select the default reference point. So if you modified the reference point, it'll set it back to its original reference point. In this case, it would be the lower left corner. You can set basic reference points if they are available. You can manually set an angle. When you select that, you have several tools. Show the reference line, set the reference line with 2 points, add 90 degrees to pointed angle, or show reference line at angle. Set our angle and type in, say, 30. Now we set it to a 30-degree angle, or you can use one of the default angles, 45, 90, 180 to the left, or 45, 90, 180 to the right. Let's go ahead and let's try this 45. And you can see how it's been rotated. Right click 45 to the left to bring it back horizontal. Since we already have a reference drawing inserted, we can just hit escape to cancel this command. You can get back to those editing tools by using the move feature. So if you go to reference drawing, down to move reference drawing. Now, when you're in these commands, be sure to look at the lower left corner of the status bar. In this case, it's asking us to select a reference drawing. So just click anywhere in this reference drawing. Now it's asking us to select a reference point. We'll use the lower left corner. While we're moving it, you can right click and get back to those editing tools. Hit OK. Let's go ahead and move the reference drawing so the lower left corner is right on the origin mark. It's not necessary, but let's just go through that step. So we'll go to reference drawing, move, click on the reference drawing. I'm going to zoom in a little, click on that corner, and now we're going to move it so that we get the yellow dot, which is our snap. It found the intersection there, or endpoint. Click OK, and now we've moved it so that our reference drawing corner lines up with the origin mark. And that's how you move a reference drawing. Let's go over the reference drawing menu on the ribbon. We have reference drawing or model to insert, quick load drawing or model pair. This is using an internal reference drawing. Let's say your model that you've drawn on the first level, you've drawn all your walls. Next, you want to work on the upper level. You can load the model from the lower level and have it transfer up to the upper level or down, or any level for that matter, and use it as what I like to call an internal reference drawing. We'll cover that later in this training. Delete. We can select a reference drawing to delete, or we can delete all. You can use multiple reference drawings on a level. So if you have multiple reference drawings and you want to get rid of them all at one time, select the delete all. You can use the move command, which we just did. Limit. Limit is interesting. You can draw a window around a certain portion. If you do not want to use the entire reference drawing, you can create a window around just a portion of it and have that visible, either the inside of the window or the outside. Let's go through that and show you how that works. So we'll hit limit. I'm going to zoom out. And let's say I just want to use a certain portion of it, maybe just this left side. I'll select my reference drawing because the status bar is asking us to select a reference drawing. Now select my range limits. Basically, it's a window of what you want to see, or omit as well. You can have it remove what's in the window. In this case, we just want to keep what's in the window. And it doesn't have to be accurate. It can just, as long as it goes around, go back to this point. And once I'm done, I'll hit V to confirm. Which side on clip line to keep? So which side do I want to keep? What's inside the window or what's outside? Let's just keep what's inside. And now you see that the rest of the reference drawing has been hidden, and we're left with just the portion that we want to use. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this and reinsert a new reference drawing. Next, in the reference drawings menu, we have edit. This will allow us to make any changes to the reference drawing, and it will refresh the drawing with these modifications. If I was to go ahead and select edit, it's prompting us to select our reference drawing. Now I can go ahead and delete any parts of this drawing that I don't want to see in a reference drawing. I'm going to just hit cancel. I don't want to make any changes. I want to leave the reference drawing as is. We can cut the connection. That will cut the connection so it's no longer referencing back to the external drawing. It'll be part of this drawing. Update will refresh the reference drawings. Select layers. You can select layers. You can turn layers on and off for the reference drawing. Over in the layers window, in the upper left panel, you'll see all the layers that are in this drawing. You can select the light bulb to turn any of these layers on and off. I'm going to hit cancel. And you have the properties. Properties will list all the reference drawings that are on this level, on this drawing model pair. Reference drawings can be turned off rather than deleting them from the project. The option to turn off a reference drawing is useful when the reference drawing is still necessary, but you need to temporarily view your project without the reference drawing in the background. Hide the reference drawing by unchecking the checkbox. And you see that it's gone, but it hasn't been deleted. I can go back to reference drawing, properties, and check the box, and it is back on the screen. While we're on the topic of reference drawings, let's go ahead and take a moment to talk about the drawing conversion setup. You may want to create some drawing conversion rules if you use reference drawings in your final output and it's part of your layout drawings or schematics. If you're just using the reference drawings for tracing purposes, the drawing conversion setup isn't really necessary. To first set up the drawing conversion, you need to select Create a New Setup, assign a name. I'll call this Test Con V. And now you can select certain properties of the CAD drawing. You have line width, layers, line types, fonts, and dimensions and hatches. For line widths, you can select a color that is in the CAD drawing and assign it a corresponding pen width in Vertex. So if we select red, we can assign it to, let's say, a 0.50 pen width. And you can do that with any of the colors that are listed here from the CAD drawing. Now you can do something similar with layers. You can take a layer that's in the CAD drawing and assign it to a layer in the Vertex system. Under line types, you can take a line type from the CAD drawing and assign it to a line type in the Vertex system. With fonts, you can take a CAD font. For example, we can take the standard font that's in the CAD drawing and assign it to, let's say, Arial. Under dimensions and hatches, you can assign how certain properties are addressed in Vertex. For example, you can take the dimension end. Currently, it's set to arrow, and you may want to assign it to a circle or a slash. Now, once you're all done, you can select OK. I'm going to hit Escape. I'm going to insert a reference drawing again and select OK. And next time when you see the drawing setup selection dialog appear, under Setup File, select the drop-down, and you'll find your set of conversion rules. And select OK to apply. Now let's go ahead and draw the exterior walls. First thing we want to do is make sure that we know what the wall width is. So I'm going to zoom in to the wall. So for the exterior wall, and I'm going to zoom in for the exterior wall. Select my verified distance. Click one corner, click the other corner, and I'm making sure that I have the yellow snaps so that I know I'm picking an actual point. If I zoom in or look over at the left verified distance panel, you'll see that I have an X and a Y value of 5.5 inches. So that's a 5.5 inch wall. Cancel or escape. Now that we know that, we can go into our modeling and wall menu, insert wall. In the walls library, I'm going to select exterior wall library, select frame walls library, and select 2x6 exterior bearing wall with horizontal siding. We will leave the layers as is and select OK. To select a wall in the steel version of BD, go to the wall libraries and select CC Wall Library. Go down to exterior bearing 550 to select a 5.5 inch thick wall. Let's go ahead and select the 550S162-54 C2C exterior bearing wall. You'll see that's a 5.5 inch thick wall, and select OK. Now down at the status line in the lower left corner, it's prompting us to insert wall, select a point. We can select a point anywhere along the exterior wall. I'm going to start with the lower left corner at the origin point. Now it's very important that you find an icon or see an icon that indicates that you are selecting on a specific point, midpoint, intersection, or endpoint. We have a yellow dot, so that's an endpoint. So I'm going to click on that specific point. I'm in the habit of drawing clockwise. So if I move my mouse upward, you'll see that my wall exterior and interior lines line up with the CAD drawing. Now, if you like to draw counterclockwise, and we lock this wall in the horizontal, you'll notice that the exterior side is in the opposite side. It's in the inside of the structure. So what you will need to do is right click and select the mirror icon. And now you see the exterior side of the wall is correctly aligned. Let's go back and hit the U key. I'm going to draw vertical, right click, and fix it back to the opposite side. Now I'm going to select the I key. It's important that we are accurate when we're drawing. We don't want any skews in our lines. So having true straight walls is important so that when we get down to later to the framing process that things look correct and we don't run into any issues due to bad input like skewed lines. I'll select the I key to set the Y-axis constraint. To set the X-axis constraint, select the U key. And now we can go up and select our exterior corner. Now, if your wall is not correctly lined up, you can use the right click and adjust the wall placement. So in that case, we see the center line of the wall is lined up with the exterior of the CAD drawing, which is obviously incorrect. So just use your placement lines until it looks correct. Now you should see some offset lines off the CAD lines because in Vertex we also show a drywall. So that's a 1/2 inch drywall on this side. We've got exterior sheathing and then we have siding on the opposite side. That's where we have 2 additional lines. You want to make sure which side is your exterior side. That's the side with the arrow. We don't want our siding on the inside of the house, obviously. We want it on the outside. So make sure that your arrow is pointing to the outside. Also, if it's not, you can right click and select mirror to offset it to the other side. So we'll hit escape. Everything's correct. Now we'll go in and select the next corner. Now it's important that when you're selecting corners, and in this case we have a very clean CAD drawing, it's very simple, not a lot of line work when it comes to the exterior wall, but in other CAD files that you may see a lot of lines. And so you're going to want to make sure that you're zoomed in fairly tight so that you know you are selecting the correct corner that you want and you're not selecting someplace out here, which would tend to, cause a skew in your line. So you want to make sure that truly locked in on what you want to select. So I'm going to hit I. Now I'm going to go over. I could just go in and get that yellow dot and hit the horizontal, and I'm pretty confident that that's a true horizontal line. But you can always use the U key to confirm it is horizontal and locked in the X-axis. And click OK. Now there's also that tool, if you recall, our locking of the constraint. We can right click and there's my menu down here. I want to use since I'm going vertical for my next selection, I want to lock my cursor vertically. And this will alternate our cursors, our constraint with each selection. So it'll go from vertical to horizontal. The next time I'll go to vertical until we're done. So I'll click that. So you see how it locked it in vertically. I want to zoom in, click that corner. Now it automatically locks it to the horizontal next time. So I'll click that corner and it locks it into the vertical next. Go back to my starting point, that point. And now we have all our exterior walls drawn. I'm going to hit escape and I'm going to go up and select save. You can go to File, Save, or if you have the save icon on top, you can hit save. Next, let's draw our interior walls. So go into Wall. This time we're going to switch to the interior wall library, framed walls. Let's go ahead and select interior non-bearing wall for our walls. And we can make the change later and change any walls that need to be bearing walls. We can modify those and set them even after we've inserted them. Interior walls, I'm not going to make any changes to the layers, and we'll hit OK. If you're using the steel version of BD, let's select an interior wall from the CC wall library, expand that, and scroll down until you find, let's go with interior non-bearing wall to begin. So we'll select interior non-bearing, and let's select the first option, the 350S 162-33 C2C interior non-bearing. And you will see that that is a 3.5-inch wide wall, and select OK. Let's go ahead and start with this horizontal wall. I'll zoom in. I'm going to select either side, doesn't really matter. I'm going to select this top side, and my wall is, if I lock in the horizontal with the U key, it is lined up correctly. If not, if you find that your wall is not lined up correctly, you can right click again, use the placement icons to see if it's lined up. Obviously that one is not. And you can continue to select those. Just right click to bring up that menu and set it until, keep setting it up until you finally get the correct lineup that you need. Now it's pointing upward for the exterior side. It's an interior wall. Both sides are the same. They have 1/2-inch drywall on each side. So the exterior side isn't as important. So that's not a big concern when it comes to interior walls. So I'm just going to go ahead, and it's locked in the horizontal. Go all the way to the other side and just click a point, an intersection point on the opposite side. Now we're done adding walls. Once you're done adding walls and you have a link wall still on your cursor, link to your cursor, just hit the letter V to verify, meaning that you're done with your selections. That's all you want to add. And it will clean up any intersections on both ends and insert the wall. Let's go ahead and select these walls here. I'm going to select this corner on that wall, lock it into vertical this time, hit I. Now you see that my wall is offset. It's not set correctly. So I'm going to right click, go to the opposite side, and now my wall is lined up. So I'm going to go down until I hit an endpoint, and V to confirm. I'm still in the wall command because if I look at the lower left corner, it says select point. I just went in, V confirmed, but it didn't cancel me out of the wall command. It's still in the same wall command. I'm just able to now go select a new starting point. I'm going to go in, make sure I'm selecting that corner, that I don't select the wrong point. I lock it into vertical, and you can see that it's lined up correctly. I'm done adding points, so I'll V to confirm. I'm still in the wall command. Let's go ahead and work on this corner. Now, obviously you notice that we're ignoring any openings. Those we will deal with later. So we're not doing any doors or windows at this time, just strictly the walls. And we're drawing the walls through those. We'll add the openings later. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to pick this lower corner this time and lock it in the horizontal. Mine's lined up correctly. So I'm going to go in and pick this point, turn the corner, lock it in the vertical. You want to be sure that you're selecting the same side of the wall as you're drawing. Let me backtrack here. I'm going to hit Control Z just to go back to segment. So what you don't want to do is like hit the letter I. I'm going to hit the letter U to lock in the horizontal. I pick this outside corner, and I want to stay on this outside corner as I make the turn. You don't want to go from an outside corner and then start picking the inside corner, because then your wall is not going to line up and your offset isn't going to work. You can't mirror, because then you're going to end up mirroring this wall off. So you want to make sure that you maintain the side, especially when you're turning the walls and turning corners, that you're still selecting the same exterior side and you're not flip-flopping between interior and exterior, or inside or outside when you're making the turns. And Control Z one more time to undo that U key. So I pick this outside corner, I'm going to stay on that corner, stay on that outside plane, and come back, get that dot. As you can see, when I made the corner, my wall's still lined up. Now I'm done selecting points. V to confirm. I'm going to select this wall. Let's do this little closet wall here. Okay, well, I need to offset it the opposite side. Right click, bring up the placement. I'm still using this as my reference point, so I'm clicking that corner, going down to that point. Now, if you noticed, I didn't use my constraint, and if you can't tell, but there's a little jog here. If I'll move my wall away, that's not accurate. There's a jog there. I didn't use my constraint. And so now if I was to hit V and confirm, I'm going to have a skew there. So I want to make sure that I have accurate straight walls. So I'm going to hit Control Z to go back one. And I know I picked the right point there. So I'm going to make sure I lock in the I key. Now I'm going to come back and select that point or a point along this wall because it's not going to skew it because it's locked into vertical. And now I don't have that slight jog there. So I was able to catch that before I completed drawing this wall. So just make sure you get these little, if you see those little kind of crooked lines, don't finish your wall. Just go back and fix it because that's a skew there. I'm going to hit V to confirm. Now let's work on this second section here. I'm going to pick this wall. Let's lock that into vertical. Go to the opposite corner. V to confirm. Let's go ahead and add this one piece here. Lock it into horizontal. It's straight. V to confirm. And I'm done adding wall, so I can hit escape. And go ahead and hit save. Now you may find that maybe you didn't quite close your walls correctly. I'm just going to do something here. You don't have to copy this. I'm going to disconnect this. So maybe you have something like that where the wall didn't clean up as opposed to this opposite side where it is clean. You can always come back in, select that wall that isn't cleaned up, right click on the dot and create a T connection and then select the opposite wall. If you recall from our previous video on how to edit these intersections. So if you find that it didn't quite clean it up, you can manually go ahead and do that. So all our interior walls that we have drawn are non-bearing walls, but this wall here in the middle needs to be a bearing wall. We can come back and easily modify the wall. We can go ahead and double click the wall and change it to a 2x4 interior bearing wall instead. Click on that one and hit OK. And now you'll see that it has a color fill assigned to it, indicating that that is a bearing wall. We could have easily gone in and drawn the wall as an interior bearing, but then you'd have to make the switch back to a non-bearing wall. So usually you have more non-bearing walls than you have bearing walls. And I always start with drawing the non-bearing walls first and going back and making the changes to the few walls that are bearing walls. To change the non-bearing wall in the steel version, double click the wall and let's go in to the CC wall library and change that to an interior bearing 350. And let's select the 350S 162 54 C2C interior bearing and select OK. And now you'll see that that wall is a bearing wall. Selecting Shift A on your keyboard will do an automatic zoom extents or zoom all. Now, if we want to take a look at this in 3D, hit the F2 key or go to this upper icon and switch between 2D and 3D. And now you see our model in 3D, all our interior and exterior walls. You can roll your wheel mouse while in 3D view to zoom in and out. To pan, keep your finger on the Shift key and press down on your middle mouse button, and that allows you to pan. To rotate, keep your finger on the Shift key and left mouse button, and while you're moving the mouse around, it will rotate. Or you can also go up to the View menu and select from some of the preset views. You have Top View, Left View, front view, bottom view, right view, and rear view. And you also have isometric. Let's go ahead and go back to the 2D window. So hit the F2 key and hit save. Now that we have all our walls drawn in, we can take a look and see if we need to flip any of our walls. So make sure we're in the modeling tab. Let's go over to wall, select the drop down, and select flip. You'll see the blue arrows pointing to the exterior side. We want to make sure that all our exterior walls are pointing to the outside. Now, it's not as important for interior walls, but it does indicate where the placement of wall panel labels will be set. So in this case, let's say like this area here, we may have our wall panel labels overlapping each other in this area. So we can change one side of the wall, let's say to this outside, if we want our label to end up on this side. It's not as important like we said for interior walls because there is no real exterior side, but this will indicate that we do want our wall panel label when we get to that point to be placed on this side of the wall. And we can change this one here so it's over in this area and we don't see an overlap here. It just helps to clean up the labels later on when we get to the point where we're framing these walls and creating wall panel labels. And on this one, I'm going to switch that one to the opposite side just to help minimize the overlap on the labels. We can always manually move the labels around later too. Let's go ahead and hit escape. Now let's move on to doors and windows.